Hi everyone, this is Professor Benjamin and welcome to the end of week 1. Usually at the end of each week I send out a roundup, whether it be in this video type format or also I sometimes send out a roundup in a written format. They're absolutely, I think they're essential. Number one, a lot of times they have really helpful pointers for the midterm and the final exam. It's also good to check in with students and just kind of housekeep a little bit in terms of what went well last week, what we kind of need to accomplish in the upcoming week. Okay, so this week, welcome. A lot of you did a great job. I know the first week can be stressful all around, especially just everything that's going on in terms of starting classes, working, other family obligations, etc. A couple just small housekeeping items. Number one, be sure that 6 people aren't answering the same question. So, and there is no question saving. So in some sections I saw where someone would post the question up and then their intention is to go back and answer it, and that's their question saving. In this class we don't. So either you get in earlier and you answer the question you want, or you just have to take the risk that while you're typing up your answer, someone else is. So if someone's already answered, 5 people in the class have already answered the same question, then maybe it wouldn't be best if you're waiting till the last minute to do your post that you answer that question. Maybe pick a question that hardly any students have answered so far. So technically you're supposed to have 36 students in this class and there's 6 questions given each week. So there should be no question as to whether everyone can't answer a question. There's plenty of questions to answer. Remember, this week I'm going to make sure that I keep tabs on how many students have answered each question. If you're the 7th person to answer a question, then I'm going to have to give you a 0 for it, just because number one, it's not fair to other students because a lot of students wind up copying work off of other students. I'm not saying that you'll do that, but that is some things that I've seen in the past. The other thing is that it gets really boring as a professor trying to read 36, and I teach 5 sections of classes reading the same material over and over again. Okay, so this week a lot of you did a great job. A couple minor things. Number one, remember you need to make sure that you have the proper word limits for both initial and response posts. Always remember your initial posts are due by Wednesday, your response posts are due by Friday. The other thing is sources. Make sure that you're including in-text citations and then the source properly cited at the end of the session. Most of you did a great job on your content, trying to answer the questions. I made comments to you if I felt like you were missing something important from the content. You most likely will see just a couple things. The uncertainty question will probably come up on the midterm exam. Why are we kind of steer away from change? And a lot of that has to do with uncertainties and complexities with the environment. The other thing is positive and negative feedback loops will definitely be asked on the midterm exam. Now this week coming up, we have Tragedy of the Commons. Oh, don't forget, by Sunday, 11:59, which is tonight, by 11:59, you have your quiz due. Remember, the quizzes tie only to the chapters, to the associated chapters. The quizzes do not tie to the additional readings, so don't spend too much time. Well, you're going to have to read the additional readings, but don't spend too much time preparing with the initial readings for the quiz. The quizzes are only related to the chapter readings. So now, this week we're going to cover Tragedy of the Commons. A couple really important things. You're going to talk, this article here is absolutely essential that you read it. The Tragedy of the Commons by Garrett Hardin. You're going to see it in questions this week in this session 2, Tragedy of the Commons. You're also going to see it again on the midterm exam. It's really the backbone of all environmental conservation, which is the fact of the destruction of shared resources. So that means the commons. That is air, water, land. It can be as big as the earth, right? Or it could be as small as a park or a classroom or a house or whatever it is. So, we all use commons, and it's really the abuse of the commons which is a big problem. Garrett Hardin writes this article as a rebuttal to an article that was written in the 1800s by William Foster Lloyd, who said that privatization was the answer to commons problems, meaning that we should privatize all of the commons, and then most likely people will take care of their, or the private company will take care of the commons, such as a private company owning your water. Well, there are a lot of problems to that, lots of problems to that. And Garrett Hardin's whole article talks about the fact that they are all technical solutions, meaning privatization is technical, mutual corrosion is technical. He talks about a welfare state is technical. all of these solutions that have been proposed for commons, for us to take care of common resources, have been proposed, these technical solutions, but they don't work. And the reason they do not work is because they really need an extension in morality. They need this additional portion to them. And that could be education or an extension in morality, etc. So this whole article talks about the failures of technical solutions and why these technical solutions need that additional extension in morality, or the technical solution just doesn't work. For example, we can desalinate water. Yeah, we can do that. We can supply water, but the problem is we haven't dealt with the fact that people don't understand that you shouldn't overuse water. You shouldn't overuse fresh water. There's also other complexities. If we put in desalination plants, the cost of water is going to rise, and then when that happens, social injustices occur because only the rich can afford the clean water, and then the poor individuals will receive less quality water. So there's just lots of problems involved with commons. The other thing that's talked about in this session is invasive species. The Gulf oil also deals with the tragedy of the commons. This is a really good current day example of tragedy of the commons. The other articles talk about invasive species and how invasive species are an example of tragedy of the commons. The only time invasive species are considered tragedy of the commons is when, of course, a human brings in the species for short-term gain. And that could be greed, or that could be because we see a pretty flower somewhere and we want to bring it in, and then it creates chaos. Or we want to fix one problem with this species, and then the species goes out of control and ruins other species. Okay, so this whole session here is talking about tragedy of the commons, which is what are the problems with our shared resources in the world today. It's going to be essential that you read this article and you use this article in your answers. So you might actually need to use one or more of these articles in your post. So for example, there's a question about the Gulf oil spill. Well, don't just use this article. You definitely need to use Garrett Hardin's article in there too, because he talks about privatization of resources. So you want to make sure that you're piggybacking. A lot of this stuff piggybacks on each other. They're not just isolated articles. Maybe one article feeds off of another article and you can find information together. There is no actual chapter in the textbook on tragedy of the commons, so a lot of this is additional resources that I give you. So you'll notice next week you don't have a quiz. You just have your initial post due and your response post due. So initial post due by Wednesday, 11:59. Response post to a fellow classmate by Friday, 11:59. And next week, of course, you just don't have that quiz as well because there's no chapter reading. You can also see that you can look ahead to chapter 3, to session 3 if you want, and start working on session 3 if you would like to, if you have time and energy and you want to work on that as well. So you're more than welcome to do that. At the end of course, this week, I usually try and do by Sunday. Sometimes it is on Monday, but I try and do this roundup for you so that you have information leading into the upcoming week. Stay strong. I know the first week is always overwhelming. It's even overwhelming for us as professors. So stay strong, stay the course. Make sure that you've read the syllabus. If you haven't had a chance, please read the syllabus. A lot of times you'll ask me questions and I'll say, I just can't answer that. It's in the syllabus, or it's somewhere in the course. It's in the home page, or it's in the course information session. So make sure you find time and go back. Look at all these resources here. Directions. A lot of you didn't read the directions for initial post and response post. So spend some time this week. I know the first week was overwhelming, but spend some time this week deconstructing some of the information in this course and trying to understand my expectations for you this semester. Remember, stay strong. You have this. We have 15 weeks. You'll get into a pattern and a routine, and you'll probably start to feel better as the semester moves forward. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Both my 901 and 900 sections are usually working on the same material at the same time, so I'll make one roundup for both of you. Okay? So have a fantastic week. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.